Guess who's back? Back again. SK back. Tell a friend. You have to stop me, otherwise I will keep going. I guess we don't get the full move now that we've loaded our save, huh? That's fine.
The courtroom gallery is quite full today, isn't it?
Wash in a sea of pissed off cops.
It doesn't exactly shore up one's confidence, does it?
5 counts of murder would be newsworthy any day of the week. Add in the fact that one of the bodies belongs to a cop, and a crowd was to be expected. Didn't think they'd be so quiet, though. Maybe they're all just waiting for the firing pistol before they start casting their stones. Don't let it get to you, Sosuke. They're just posturing.
Posturing, I understand. I've been in attendance for my share of tense negotiations, but the bloodlust in those rooms was always mutual.
You don't feel any animosity towards these cops?
I'm used to summoning my temper on command. I might have forgotten how to get angry for my own sake.
You just worry about the jury.
What about the adjutant? They cannot be intimidated by muscle, bribed with cash, or disarmed with fine tailoring. All of which makes them quite favored when it comes to prosecuting organized crime.
Have you been in court many times before then?
It's an eye for an eye in the world we operate in. We don't file assault charges, we just answer them. Though even that has become rare, the house is elevated. Blue Bloods and Rust and all the rest of the rabble, we're beyond their reach now. And when it comes to our peers, we communicate very differently.
Must make being a bodyguard pretty boring.
I think your work sounds very rewarding and exciting, Sosuke.
Thank you.
Especially the other day when you were captured and beaten by your rivals.
Yes. What I was trying to hint at, Morgan, is that you should not be expecting assistance from the house.
Honestly, the thought hadn't crossed my mind. Being on the winning side for once? What the hell would that even feel like?
So there won't be any men in black approaching the jury during lunch and offering them paper bags of cash?
No.
Well, if we do really bad, we won't even make it to lunch, so...
Sosuke, what are you staring at? You looking for the jury?
No, I know they aren't here. It used to be mandated that juries be physically present for court proceedings. People felt it was important that they look the accused in the eye.
You know what? I feel like that's not a bad idea. Just like, you should feel every bit of the weight. Like, if you are determining someone's fate like that, you should feel every bit of weight of what that means. You shouldn't, it should be a difficult decision to make, and you should not be able to make it, anything that makes it more easy for a jury to make a decision like that should be, avoided, I think. But, I don't know, because you're condemning a man to potentially years in prison or even death in some cases. I don't think that should be something made lightly or easily.
Before pronouncing the death penalty, the whole jury should be required to face off the accused at skee ball.
Why skee ball? Also, that's ableist. Boom! Got him!
To help them evaluate their character?
Why bother? Most people suck at that. They always have.
True. Perhaps it was considered part of the punishment, then, to have to look them in their eyes.
A punishment for the jury or for the defendant?
All right, kiddos, chins up, shoulders out. The show's about to start. What?
Oh, I just remembered. Think the adjutant is onto this particular case.
Obviously, it's gonna be me. Obviously. I mean, that's a gimme. Easy.
How? So we know there are many other adjutants, right? It doesn't have to be AD that's always the one that's overseeing Morgan's court proceedings. It's just everyone loves AD, and let's be honest, they're never going to release an episode without her in it. I think next episode, no, episode 4, there's going to be a fake out where she's not there for the first day, and then she'll be brought in on the second day because everyone misses her.
I can't wait for this episode 4 that you're gradually filling up with predictions.
Listen, I just know how episodic things are written, okay? And
Yeah, you do everything in episode 4.
No, it's not that everything happens in episode 4. It's that specific twists and subversions happen in episode 4. Because you don't want to do it in episode 5, because episode 5 is like the one where you're wrapping everything up. You don't want to leave anything on the table there. That's all about with the heart and stuff. Episode 4 is your last chance to kind of play with the basic formula, right? While still having it feel like just another case. Episode 5 is going to be the capstone. That's going to be its own... I'm just bullshitting now. I'm not bullshitting, but I am bullshitting. You know what I mean? Like, this is just how I think about stories. And I don't know. Maybe that says more about me than anyone else.
It's 80. What are the chances?
Adjutant AD84. Occupation, automated dependent adjutant. Likes mountain air, gymnast, luxury. Dislikes happy couples who ask you to take their photo. Pineapple, on pizza until proven guilty. Shopping carts, always returned. Favorite quote, let he who is without sin play first or draw first. Oh, I don't know what happened to her. Oh.
Uh-oh.
Neko Morgue?
Inverse gravity.
Oh, no, there it goes. Oh, hold on, it's coming back. All right. Oh, nope, something's going on.
There we go.
Oh, there it is. Okay, we got it back. There should be at least 83 other personalities in the building's network. At least.
Well, Your Honor, thank you for presiding so honorably. I do try. Because it's a trial. Tougher crowd than usual. And that's not counting all the grim monoliths standing tall out there in the gallery.
I'm sure we've commented on this before, but I like how she's got Penny's color scheme.
Isn't Grim Monolith a Magic the Gathering?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Who died? 5 people, Your Honor.
Listen, I know that this is Emma's whoops face, but it also looks like Emma biting her lip, begging you to give it to her face. Right? I just want to get that out there. Every time I see that doesn't look like, ooh, that looks like, oh, please, master, give it to me. And I can't unsee it, okay? And now you all have to see it too. Listen. I'm trans and I'm an adult. I've seen some needy ass faces in my time, okay?
Yikes, what's the damage? 2 counts of manslaughter, 2 counts of homicide in the 2nd degree, and 1 count of homicide in the 1st degree. Buddy, you trying to set a gold split with all that? What's with the record-setting grind set?
AD would be into speed runs.
The prosecution stands ready.
You got that right, gold split?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So, shall we begin?
Your credit's always good here. Court is now in session. Woo! Flashy.
Now let's crack open those opening statements and get this case summarized. Gladly, Your Honor. People of the court. The defendant in this case is a man named Sosuke Ikaria. He was found at the scene of the crime where 2 men were shot to death. One was stabbed in the neck, another had their skull bashed in, and a police officer was impaled through the back with a sword.
Cop killing piece of shit!
Please pardon any outbursts from the gallery that your mics may inadvertently pick up. Now I understand that the scale of violence on display here today may intimidate you, but I want to stress to all of you now that your responsibility here today is neither taxing nor complex. You will hear testimony, you will be shown evidence, and all of it will point toward the truth, that the defendant is the only individual who could have possibly committed these crimes. That is a simple fact, and the only one you need concern yourself with. Ooh, she's as cold as ice.
I forgot how good your AD is. I love that.
But every ice age beckons a kindling, for as ashes call to cinders and embers form champions.
Defense is ready, Your Honor. Emma did stick to cold logic, so if I follow her with more of the same, It'll end up falling flat. This gallery will never warm up to us. That can work to our advantage if the jury comes to see these cops as witch hunters, eager to start a pyre. It's not like the masters never taught me anything. I know how to do the razzle-dazzle. My fellow citizens, you were brought here today because an act of violence took place that could only be described as...
Unspeakable?
Unspeakable. I should know. I was there. I saw the blood on the ground, the bullet holes in the walls, felt the... the horror that radiated in the air. And I also saw where my client was held prisoner. And I knew exactly where he must have stood, because his sweat and blood had stained the tile. My client, a decorated veteran, the man you see standing next to me here, not even fully healed from his...
Torture.
From his torture.
Oh, ordeal, dang. Oh, no, it was torture, okay.
Was taken into police custody with lacerations, bruises, internal bleeding, broken bones. And while he was in police custody, he somehow sustained a black eye, a busted lip, a broken nose, and a boxed ear. A puzzle which I'm sure any one of the officers in the gallery today would be happy to testify about.
You're gonna let her say that? You want me to object during an opening statement?
Much is resting on the outcome of this trial. 5 men lie dead in the morgue, one of them a police officer. Tariq. Don't speak his name, you mob lawyer bitch.
Hang him up.
Hang her too.
This is... Hey, we like to have fun in this courtroom, put on a good show, but that's because we're on the stage. Any more outbursts from the gallery and I'll clear the entire room. You can all watch the rest on your phones or peek in through the keyhole like a bunch of sweaty looky-loos. Counselor, let's wrap this up.
Yes, Your Honor. Fact of the matter is, on that night, my client was not in any condition to kill anyone. Not 4 hardened criminals, and certainly not a trained police officer. And nothing about my client's background, his associations, or that of the victims can change that fact. So as you listen to all the evidence in this trial, with fairness and impartiality, as I know you will strive to, I only ask that you focus on the reality of this horrible crime, and not the fiction that people will try to weave for you. Thank you.
Decorated veteran?
You telling me you never earned a single commendation? Most push-ups of the day or something?
Never mind, I suppose it could have gone much worse.
You're too kind.
I was trying to be honest. The crowd got agitated, but you maintained a level head and recovered your tempo.
Adonai is a master at doing so. Seen her make comebacks from the most nonsensical mistakes before.
Did you see her sparkle?
Yeah.
In martial arts, they call it ukemi, a graceful fall.
That is basically correct.
Well, try not to gracefully fall over when you see the first witness on the docket, Sasuke.
What do you mean by that?
Hey, it's actually me. It's Gumshoe. Coming in for this one. Hey, pal.
Your name and occupation for the record.
It's gonna be the other cop, right? No, it's Makoto! Hologram Makoto?
How can that be necessary? If some blathering idiot in that courtroom doesn't already know who I am, they don't deserve... I know, but would you consider it if only for the sake of ceremony? Ceremony is important and should be respected. Very well. I am Makoto Ikaria of House Ikaria. My occupation is that of a student.
Try not to look so smug about it when you blatantly lie.
Right, of course. And your position with the Ikaria Financial Group? Is not salaried. Must I really declare it here?
Hard to imagine why the noble house of Ikaria is getting audited.
Sosuke, are you alright?
Can he see us?
He can see me, Rockford, and the adjutant. Witnesses testifying don't really need much else.
So he's safe.
Yes, Sosuke. He's safe. Like he was yesterday. Probably sitting right where I left him or standing on a box. I think the hologram's giving him a boost so he can see over the stand.
That's good.
The boost to his height?
That he's safe at home.
I'm sorry that he can't see you, Sosuke.
Don't be. After how horribly I've failed him, I'd like you to speak a bit about the events of August 13th. About the last time you saw the defendant, Sosuke Ikaria. I'm here today, not physically, but here nonetheless as a courtesy. That does not mean I will flap my gums like some sort of flapping gum puppet.
Permission to tweet the witness as hostile incoming. Emma Rockford raking a spoiled brat over the coals. This all must be worth the price of admission alone.
I understand. It was a traumatic experience, I'm sure. Anyone of normal upbringing would barely be able to recall a single detail, let alone the day's full events. Normal upbringing? I should probably dismiss you so you can get back to your summer studies. Summer studies, like some common waif?
Damn, Emma, going for the jugular.
Waif? That's quite the vocab pull. I didn't know they taught that in State Basic. Basic? Was I mistaken?
Morgan, shouldn't you object to this? No, it's hilarious.
Listen well, Madam Rockford, as I demonstrate to you exactly how misguided you are about my powers of retention. Please do.
Played like a damn fiddle.
Why wasn't she mentioned during any of our trial preparations?
DOB, February 13th. Assistant District Attorney. Likes art museums, amethysts, turn-based RPGs. Oh, she likes her birthstone. Amethyst is the February birthstone. Dislikes ballrooms, war rooms, cliques. Favorite quote, flower in the mirror, moon on the water. I don't know what that is. Favorite subject, psychology. Exercises by
Subject seems not to hear the question.
Doesn't. I see.
Hatanai has only won against her once.
So far, every hot streak starts somewhere.
Hot streak. I really am going to prison, aren't I? Where shall I start? As far back as you can? A simple task. For the past year, members of the organization most commonly referred to as the Blue Blood Mafia have been making attempts on my life. Did you steal their lunch money or something? I am the primary beneficiary of my grandfather Daisuke Ikaria's will. In common parlance, I am the sole heir to the Ikaria Financial Group. You could buy so much lunch. The group you know as the Blue Bloods have been jealous of my family's financial foresight for decades. I am merely the most recent target of their impotent attempts to nip at our heels.
You know what? This is out of left field, but I gotta get out of my head. You mentioned Grim Monolith earlier being a magic card. In this day and age, WotC is still printing out magic products. However, there's 5 new sets a month at this point, all of which is a different IP tie-in, and none of which will be reprinted after 2 months.
And the reserved list is still a thing.
And the reserved list is still somehow a thing, meaning you can just never, ever get another copy of Sarah Sanctum.
And 2 days ago, on August 13th, how impotent was their attempt then? I was leaving a meeting held on the upper floors of Crane Tower. My security detail escorted me to the elevators, where we would then proceed down to their canopy access floors. This was all planned out in advance by my head of security, Sosuke Ikaria, but the elevator became stuck with unnatural timing. When Sosuke pried the doors open, we saw that we were stuck between the 62nd and 61st floors. Pried open with a tool?
Leading the witness, Your Honor.
He didn't need a tool to open the doors. His bare hands were more than sufficient.
Makoto? Help Sosuke out here, kid.
We submit into evidence the defendant's Akita Type 2 military-grade spinal mod, designed to enhance strength, endurance, and reflexes for high-intensity combat scenarios. Yes, sir, it is so admitted. What happened next? The decision was made that we would crawl out onto the 61st floor and head for the service elevators. But once Sosuke and I exited, the elevator started up. It was a trap. We had been cut off from the rest of my detail. You were isolated and defenseless. That must have been... hardly defenseless. You really think my personal head of security wouldn't be armed?
My God, Emma. Makoto, come on now.
To be fair, he is a literal child.
Okay, you know what? It's easy to be annoyed at him because he's a snot-nosed brat, but also
he also is a snot-nosed brat. And,
he also is a literal child. You're right. You're right.
He had Yoru.
Don't tell me. You named your sword?
All great swords have names.
I forgot. I have to. When she puffs out her cheeks, I have to kind of fill out the. Do you notice when I do that?
All great swords have names, Adonai.
Thank you, Sarah. Very well put. I can't wait for the future episodes when Sarah and Sosuke just occasionally hang out off screen.
Check out this cool sword I found.
Sarah, that is a crowbar.
Not in this video game I played. Wham! Wham!
Let the record show that the witness has identified Exhibit B3 as belonging to the defendant.
The katana, Sosuke's sword. Bladed weapon found at the scene of the crime, impaled into the torso of victim Tariq Chopin. The steel is chipped at several points, especially at the tip. Chipped at several points. That means it was probably used recently. Identified by Makoto as Sosuke's personal sword Yoru. Taken along with Sosuke down to the lower wards following an ambush on Makoto. Fingerprints on the handle match the right hand of Sosuke Ikaria. No other prints found. Blood residue at various points of the blade matches the DNA of victims Chopin, Miller, and Trey. Another murder weapon I had to wipe prints off before taking my leave. It was indulgent, trying to take Trey's head off. Wasn't my only indulgence either. Must have gotten Miller's blood on the blade's tip when I dragged it across the floor. That was a bit of unnecessary theater, but I imagine she got caught up in the moment.
You can't have a murder without flair. God.
Battle without honor and humanity starts up.
This sword was recovered by the police in a known blue blood den in the lower wards, found impaled into the body of Tariq Chopin, and forensics has shown that the only fingerprints on it are those of the defendant.
There's still time for you to disown it, Sosuke.
You understand nothing about a swordsman's heart, Adonai.
Once again, it is your paralegal that has the right of it. Perhaps she should be leading my defense.
If this somehow turns into a fencing competition, I will gladly defer to you two.
So, you, Sosuke, and Yoru were on the 61st floor together. What happened next? When we arrived at the service elevators, Sosuke called them, and then they made a chime. And I didn't clearly see much of what happened next, to tell the truth. Figures emerged from around the corners. They were aiming weapons at me. A red dot shone on my chest.
How often can you activate the burst power mod thing?
I don't know.
Because if it needs to be recharged by like being plugged in or whatever, then we can be like, oh, he used his mod during this encounter and wouldn't have had it for the other one, right?
Perhaps.
Did we get any of that about the mod?
We did not.
Did not get the mod as a... Okay.
And then Sosuke was there, and a needle was sticking out of his arm. Yoru glinted. Sosuke had drawn it in the blink of an eye. Something glanced off it and dropped to the floor. I saw a syringe at my feet. Yoru's sheath was thrust into my arms, pushing me back into the elevator, and I landed on my rear. That's clearly a key piece of testimony. Let's play it back 5 times. What matters is he pushed me back into the elevator with Yoru's sheath. How I landed is irrelevant and should be stricken from all public records.
So he's with the sheath. Okay.
The only other thing I saw was Sosuke's back. He slammed his hand against the elevator's control panel and then the doors shut. That's the last time you saw the defendant? The decision was made that I should get on a VTOL as soon as possible, but much of my detail stayed behind to assess what had happened. Yes, they were very helpful to building security in recovering Exhibit 5C, this hypodermic needle gun.
A needle gun and projectiles found at Crane Tower where Makoto and Sosuke were ambushed. This model utilizes the same kind of projectile needles recovered from the room where Sosuke was held and interrogated. Right, okay, I was going to bring that up. Fingerprints on the weapon match those of the victim, Creek. Interesting.
What kind of bonehead would leave evidence like that behind? A bonehead in a rush, perhaps, Your Honor. It does appear to have exhausted its gas canister, so it may have outlived its usefulness.
I take it this weapon is a match for the projectile needles found in the room where my client was restrained.
Correct. Others exactly like them were recovered from the scene of the ambush as well.
Right, and then needles identical to these were recovered from Crane Tower where Sosuke and Makoto were ambushed. Got it.
Makoto, did you see the faces of the men who attacked you? Huh, all too clearly. I can tell you every detail of their roughshod countenances. This sounds like a good bit of testimony. Hit it.
What? Oh, the music.
A pineapple head-like man and a raincoat-clad hooligan came at us first. They aimed at me, but Sosuke got between us and blocked every shot. With Yoru, he could have closed the distance, but then a dark-eyed scoundrel approached from the right. And a man with a ridiculous pompadour took advantage of that distraction. I'll never forget the faces of those cowards. They tried to kill me. So whatever happened to them afterwards, I'm sure they deserved it.
They didn't try to kill you, though.
Yeah, the needles. We should say, tried to kill me, present needles.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. Makoto's pushing his talents for hyperbole on full display. I'll have to fact-check his description in order to get the ball rolling. Yeah, okay, so that's what we're going to call.
This.
Here we go.
Needles.
Wanna bet? They couldn't have been trying to kill the witness, not with non-lethal projectiles.
They fired a lot of them. The witness doesn't weigh that much.
Don't try it. This attack was clearly planned with the intent of capturing Makoto alive.
Meaning what? That 4 of this case's victims were actually soft-hearted pacifists?
There's nothing soft-hearted about what they did to my client after capturing him. Using tools they clearly originally planned to use on the witness.
So they're sadists? I'm getting confused here. So is the defense, Your Honor. What matters is that the witness has identified the defendant's captors as the 4 blue blood victims that he is accused of murdering.
Makoto did establish that much, but something about this attack still bothers me. Emma put Makoto on the stand specifically to identify the victims. Is it possible the men who attacked them weren't Creek's pod? I don't think so. Because of the fingerprints on the gun.
Yeah, the fingerprints on the gun, the descriptions match too well. I think they were attacked by Creek's pod.
I don't disagree, Your Honor. The men who attacked Makoto and took Sosuke captive are the same ones who ended up dead that night. But 2 questions do occur to me. Why were you safe on that service elevator if Sosuke surely collapsed the very moment it shut? Wouldn't these men have pursued you by any means necessary?
That is... I can answer that, Your Honor. When the police inspected the scene, they found that the control panel for calling that elevator on the 61st floor was broken. Smashed, in fact. The attackers would have had to manually pry open the doors to even attempt to chase after Makoto. And that would take remarkable, modded strength.
Did you smash the button that forcefully, Sasuke?
I may have used more force than necessary. I wasn't exactly trying to hold myself back at the time.
He hit the controls hard enough to break them. So the Blue Bloods couldn't pursue you further, and instead elected to take Sosuke captive.
A Sosuke in the hand is better than a Makoto in the bush. The head of Makoto's security would surely have made for an invaluable source of information for planning future attacks, were he made to talk. Are you denying that?
No, but I would like to ask the witness one other question. Why did you get off the elevator in the first place?
What are you... Hey, what I mentioned in the lobby earlier, that's...
The mics might not be picking up on it for you, but from where I'm standing, I can't help but overhear my client groaning about how badly he failed you.
That's not evidence or testimony, and so should be stricken from the record. But we get the idea, so was bailing out early the defendant's big brain idea. As head of my personal security detail, such a decision is ultimately his to make. However, that decision may have been influenced by his knowledge of the fact that I am not especially comfortable in enclosed spaces. What the hell are you doing? Are you trying to humiliate him?
In part. I'm also trying to insult you.
Had we simply waited, we would have remained safe, but I was not comfortable and felt very warm, so it was not a tactical failure on Sosuke's part per se.
Just an error of judgment.
Huh? Counselor Morgan,
Hello. What's up? You can disconnect the call if,
ask me another question. Ask me about how bravely Sosuke defended me. Huh, so that's your angle.
We can't be all be as naturally gifted at extracting valuable testimony out of spoiled brats as Emma. But I can follow her example. Insult their pride, and these Ikaria snap back, as reliable as any knee-jerk reaction. And in Makoto's case, with infinitely less resistance than if I had simply asked him to testify.
It's usually the lawyer who do the asking and the witnesses who do the answering. This is not very realistic.
We asked that the witness testify for the court in more detail about exactly how valiantly Sosuke fought off the attackers.
And I guess the people don't object, even though it seems super extra. No, the people don't object, Your Honor.
Emma's playing passively. Either I'm onto something here or I'm walking into a trap. Screw it, I'll in on the former. Needle guns? Okay. Sosuke's medical records. And needles themselves. What do these tell us? What about Sosuke's medical records, actually? I don't remember the... where is that? Medical records. Here we go. Blood from various sources across the anterior front. Numerous bones in left hand broken as if impacting a hard surface. Internal in front on left hand. Internal bleeding throughout the torso. Let's go. Bruising as for rope burns on both wrists at bound. On the interior... Lots of it bruises on the front, but none on the back, and he was facing with their back towards them.
But scroll up. Largest wound found on the crown of the skull, back of the head near the top. So they did whomp him in the back of the head.
They did whomp him in the back of the head. Yep. And I think we're already familiar with the... Well, let's just take another quick look just to make sure there's any other projectile hypodermic needles. Non-lethal anesthetics found in Sosuke's bloodstream at time of the arrest, though other needles were found containing stimulants and drugs commonly marketed as truth serums. Okay. Other needles were found. Okay. Needles identical to these recovered from Crane Tower. And... needle gun and projectiles found at Crane Tower where Makoto and Sosuke were ambushed. Model utilizes the same kind of projectile needles recovered from the room where Sosuke was held and interrogated. Fingerprints match those of the victim Creek. Okay.
Sosuke was outnumbered from the beginning and protecting me the whole time.
Yep.
It didn't matter that we were ambushed or that the Blue Bloods had projectiles. Sosuke took up Yoru in both hands and swatted their needles out of the air like a graceful swatter. He fought off 4 attackers and without sustaining a single injury.
Nope.
Mock him if you dare for being captured.
He definitely had an injury.
But that's not a failure, not by any general's definition of the word.
Hearing Makoto describe Sosuke's heroism, it's almost more impressive the second time.
He definitely fought without a care for himself, and there's evidence to show it. Yep. So I think, do you agree with me on that?
Yep, call.
Want to bet?
Yeah!
Unscathed is the last thing anyone would call my client after the events of that day. One look at his medical data from when he was arrested will tell you that much.
What are you getting at, counselor? The defendant's injuries were sustained at the Blue Bloods' den, not at Crane Tower. The police didn't find even 1 drop of blood anywhere near that service elevator.
Well, that is a miracle. A bloodless ambush. The fact that no blood was found makes it all the more painfully obvious what actually happened to the elevator panel.
The elevator panel? Ugh.
Oh, wait, that's the angle? Was that he smashed his hand closing the elevator? Oh.
No, I don't think that's the angle. Oh,
Whoops.
it was, huh?
Never punished?
Yeah.
My client broke half the bones in his left hand, smashing it up.
Did you really?
I might have. There was a lot of adrenaline at the time.
Did you not form a proper fist? Was your wrist not in alignment with your forearm?
As I said, Sarah, there was a lot of adrenaline.
Do you deny that his medical record clearly shows his left hand was broken?
Your Honor, what does it matter that the defendant broke his left hand closing that elevator? It changes nothing about the witness's testimony. I wonder, the sword stuff is... But I'm not sure how...
Where's his sword?
Sosuke's sword. Oh, they match the right hand. Okay, no.
Okay, sorry. So is there any contradiction here then? This one I'm less certain about. Like, what exactly?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is, I guess, a like... I'm not sure where to go from here.
Wait.
Yeah?
If he fought off 4 attackers, how'd he get captured? Is it just that? If he fought off 4 attackers unscathed, and there were 4 attackers,
Yeah.
then why didn't he just walk out of the building? Clearly,
Maybe.
clearly he did not fight off 4 attackers unscathed.
Do we want to go for it here?
I think so.
Of course it does.
How so? Fuck. Try to think before you speak, counselor. This adjutant has enough trouble staying focused as is.
Well, it may be true that this wrinkle doesn't change the witness's testimony, but it does change the nature of the evidence you had him identify for the court.
The katana. Yoru. Yoru.
Its name is Yoru.
We get it.
What does that change about...
Oh, wait. Wielding the katana Yoru with both hands, this says. But in fact, he was
Oh.
wielding one-handed.
Oh, that was it?
So it was about the hands after all.
It was about the... Okay, the both hands. Okay. Okay. Sure thing. Makoto claims Sosuke pushed him in the elevator with Yoru's sheath before violently mashing the panel with his left hand to close the elevator doors. Okay.
Did you have a point to make, counselor?
Wait, that's important. Because only fingerprints from one of his hands were on the blade. Or on the sheath, right? Which means that something happened to it. I mean, obviously we know something happened to it, but that means... That's important. That means someone tampered with it. So
Who could have tampered with it?
Yeah, well, right, we don't know. But obviously. Okay, I see the angle now. Okay. There's something odd about the katana that's been entered into evidence. Something that makes no sense given what we've just learned about the outcome of this ambush. Namely, the sword's...
Prints.
Namely, the fingerprints that were found on the sword's handle. Fingerprints belonging to Sosuke's right hand.
You're contradicting yourself, counselor. We've already discussed how it was your client's left hand that he broke closing off the elevator. There's nothing contradictory about him using his right arm to wield the blade. It can be like this because Sosuke has 2 hands.
The people are correct. The sword found at the scene of the crime has my client's right hand fingerprints on its handle. Despite the fact that his witness just testified that Sosuke was swinging it with both hands.
Like a graceful swatter, specifically.
Oh, yeah, he did say that. So did the little tyke misremember. It was a chaotic situation where he feared for his life. The court should hardly expect him to have kept track of such an inconsequential detail. Have you already forgotten my magnanimous powers of recollection?
Her tactics from earlier have backfired.
I'll have you know I can recite all my subordinates' birthdays down to the hour. Write them all down so I can calculate their moon signs later.
Is that what your hobby is, AD? Okay. It doesn't matter whether the witness is mistaken about Sosuke's grip, Your Honor, because we have a much bigger issue to address. Why this sword has only my client's fingerprints on it. Oh, she's arguing that they would have needed to pick up Sosuke's sword and use it to pry it open, too.
What?
Remember back early when Emma was arguing that they couldn't have given chase without using a big tool to pry open the elevator doors?
But that wasn't the arguments. She was saying that in order to get them to say that he was powerful enough with his mods to rip the doors open.
Right, no, but I mean after that point, then he put them closed. Then he got them closed. She was saying that the as to why Makoto was safe after being put in the elevator was because they couldn't follow him, because they would have needed a big tool to open the door to actually give chase.
Mm-hmm.
So Morgan's about to argue that they should have their fingerprints on it because they needed to use his sword in order to pry open the doors to give chase.
But they didn't give chase.
Well, they got out of there somehow.
Yeah, but not through that. Right?
I don't think we know, but I bet that's what Morgan's going to argue here. Makoto testifies that Sosuke wielded his katana in his defense, an act of bravery that ended with my client face down on the floor of Crane Tower. He later woke up held captive in lower wards. Well, they must have, right? They brought Sosuke there, so they clearly got out of there.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean they got out of there through that elevator.
So they walked
smashed
63
panel,
floors?
or found some other way out. There was other elevators on that floor. That was the whole reason they got to this one, right?
Yeah, but elevators that were now being watched by... Well, yeah, I guess. I'll state the obvious here and say while he was unconscious, he was moved. And so the sword we have in the record must also have been handled by...
There we go.
I told you... Okay.
By Creek.
By Creek. We're gonna up this one. How do you feel about that?
Sure.
Our poor victim Creek, of course.
What do you mean?
Sosuke was knocked unconscious at Crane Tower. That means someone else must have brought his sword down to the lower wards. And the only people who had the opportunity to do so would have been his captors.
You mean his victims? Withdrawn.
Withdrawing your own thing because you know it's a low... Either voluntarily or in response to an objection sustained by a judge, attorney may withdraw their comments. Officially, juries are to disregard any comments that have been withdrawn and should not take them into consideration when evaluating the evidence, witnesses, or charges laid before them. Good, because people are so good at doing that.
The defense is forgetting a fairly simple fact, Your Honor. There's more than one way to hold a sword.
Yeah, but Makoto's got the sheath.
Oh, worm.
Thanks, Sadie. I'm glad you got the same brainworm I do.
In case the defense needs it clarified, Creek could have simply held the sword by its scabbard. No, he couldn't have.
Absolutely not. That's not possible, Your Honor. Makoto has already testified that Sosuke left the sword scabbard with him when he thrust him back into the elevator.
Yoru's sheath was thrust into my arms, pushing me back into the elevator, and I landed on my rear. I see, and since a cursed sword can't be resheathed until it's tasted blood...
Yes, Your Honor. Very well said. We would have found the scabbard at the Blue Blood's den if Creek and his men had taken it with them. Instead, I imagine Makoto took it home.
You think he took key evidence from his own assault and kept it from the police? Of course I did. As if I would trust officers of the law to properly handle a family heirloom as precious as Yoru's sheath.
Impressive insight, Adonai. What does this actually mean? There's some mistake with how the evidence was handled?
There's no mistakes here. This was all done with intention. The intention to frame my client. by putting his fingerprints onto that sword after the real culprit had already handled it.
What a load of bullshit.
And the crowd goes wild, though it does make a certain kind of sense.
Because you can, like, at a minimum, you can clearly see that the sword, the fingerprint, the hilt of the sword must have been tampered with.
Yep.
We know that when they had got, and it must have been tampered with after the point that they had captured Sosuke and brought him in to torture him, right?
Yep.
So at that point, if we know it was tampered with, like that we have to assume there's a reason for the tampering. And I don't know, framing seems like a good a reason as any. Because it's the truth. I did wipe that katana's handle down after removing it from Trey's throat. Sosuke just happened to be foolish enough to pick it up himself afterwards. It's frustrating. I have to keep all my best cards up my sleeve this time around. The look on Emma's face when I do get to toss them out is,
The people are more than ready to counter if it pleases the court.
oh.
The defense has made an admirable effort to barrel ahead with this theory. Admirable, but predictable. With a foundation this week, charging ahead and hoping the court won't notice is the only option. Let us speak of the facts. This Creek character led a targeted ambush on the heir to House Ikaria, knowing he'd be guarded by a full security team. The Blue Bloods successfully sabotaged and intercepted Makoto's elevator at the precise floor they wanted, meaning they knew exactly where he'd be and when.
Well, they got it down to one of two, right?
Mm-hmm. And they brought with them drugs capable of disabling a veteran with military-grade mods. Planning and attention to detail may be foreign concepts to the defense, but they should at least be able to recognize them. So is the defense seriously suggesting that after all that preparation, Creek's pod wouldn't bother to wear gloves?
Yeah, we can prove it too. We can prove it. I'm glad you asked so nicely.
You're right, the needle gun.
Yeah, you're fucking right. We don't need to speculate about whether they wore gloves or not. Not when we have Creek's fingerprints on a weapon recovered from the crime scene.
That is a pretty good point, actually. Yes, these guys were sloppier than we thought. Those blackguards were barefaced when they attacked us. Idiots, as if there wouldn't be repercussions for their actions. The least they could have done was disguise themselves.
Strike that from the record, Your Honor. Along with any future comments that suggest the Ikaria would want revenge against these victims.
I was only speaking a plain truth.
Creek was their leader, correct? Even if Creek wasn't wearing gloves, it's hard to imagine that none of them got their prints onto Yoru.
Unless the sword was indeed wiped down at some point afterwards.
Like right around the time the true culprit was looking for Sosuke to take the fall.
It's a spicy theory. It's just that, Your Honor. A game theory. A far-fetched, unstable theory that stacks presuppositions upon each other. Like a flapjack chef substituting quantity for quality.
Oof, that one hits home. That one really hits home.
I don't think you substitute quantity for quality.
No, but I understand the implication behind the meaning there. Like, could you imagine if I did? Ugh. I'm sorry?
I'll rephrase. This inconsistency is easily answered without jumping through the defense's absurdly arranged hoops.
That's a little better.
We already know that the Blue Bloods had successfully taken down the Ikaria's head of security. And we already know that they went out of their way to take the defendant captive despite him not being their original target. Furthermore, as the defense has belabored, we know that they decided to take a useless piece of steel with them from the scene of their crime. Useless? If we ask why, the answer is obvious, because orcas are superstitious and immature.
Are you kidding me? We know that they tried to truth serum him.
They wanted a trophy, and what is there to do with a trophy other than polish it?
The cloth from Creek's desk? I knew she flagged it in the arcs for some reason, but she thought this many steps ahead?
The defense is correct. The sword was wiped down before Sosuke took it up as his murder weapon. by the very same victims he'd go on to claim with it.
That is
A completely logical explanation. God damn it. How do we respond to that, Adonai?
we. We don't. I can't. It makes perfect sense.
So does that mean she described what actually happened?
Not at all. I wiped off the sword myself because my prints were on it. Seems I wiped my prints off of every other. Right. I can't find fault with Emma's conclusion. I need to find fault with the logic that led her there. Right, and the fault of the logic is that they're not superstitious. They were trying to interrogate him.
Mm-hmm.
I see. How do you do that?
By adjusting my aim. As the people say, Your Honor, no one's fingerprints but my clients are on the murder weapon. That only makes sense if he's guilty or being framed.
And there's no evidence to suggest that he's been framed because his captors had valid reasons for wiping off the sword.
That's true. They did have good reason to wipe off the sword. That's not the murder weapon I'm referring to.
Wait. The Magus has only his left hand, which is broken. Is that going to be it, or is it...
Let me read the backlog again on this one. Oh, she's being like, oh.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the
Yeah,
left
he's trying to be
one.
frank because of the left hand. The gun is the murder weapon that I'm referring to.
What?
The police are confident that this Mag US is the gun that was used to kill Tankson Creek.
And your client was arrested with it on his person, and it has your client's prints on it.
But it was owned by Tanks.
The record shows that Sosuke's are the only fingerprints on that doohickey. So that means this Tanks guy had never laid a finger on his own gun. It's entirely possible that Tanks simply liked to polish his gun too.
And again, his broken left hand.
And who doesn't polish their gun from time to time? Phrasing.
I was gonna say, you were looking at me for a reaction. I'm like, the game's got you covered. So he was polishing it right up until the moment his captor grabbed it and used it against him.
More phrasing.
Was it before or after his internal bleeding that my client took the gun off Tanks without him even laying a finger on it first? Before or after being tortured that he got the gun with no struggle?
They could have wrestled over the gun while it was out of reach.
Tanks had no injuries beside the hole in his chest. How did he get into a struggle and not get so much as a scratch?
The likelihood of that scenario would seem to come down to the order in which each individual died. No? Yes, Your Honor. Then perhaps we ought to hear some more detailed testimony about that. Of course.
The defense has no more questions for this witness, Your Honor. We do not object.
Hold on, what are you saying? Okie dokie then, closing the connection. I said, wait, is Sosuke...
Makoto seemed to be in good spirits, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, he was his usual, irreproachable self. So how can you find something about that to be depressed over?
I'm ashamed that he testified at all. His appearance here runs the risk of sullying the house's visage with my mistakes.
Well, he couldn't exactly slip the subpoena by claiming he had homework to do.
You of all people should understand that the house doesn't have to appear in court if it truly doesn't want to. A fine levied on your accounts is always preferable to a smudge staining your reputation.
But he did testify.
Yes, and no doubt he went directly against one or more family elders to do so. He should not be incurring debts for my sake.
Dude, he clearly thinks the fucking world of you, alright? He thinks you're cool as shit.
Sarah and Makoto starting the Sosuke fan club.
Yep.
We get to day 2 of the trial and they're both just standing there with pom-poms in the background.
Yeah! Yeah! Go! So he put himself at a disadvantage for you. Think Makoto would want you to apologize? Or do you think he'd want you to thank him?
He's young. He doesn't know what he wants yet.
Adonai, I think I know why you're frustrated with people sometimes.
Yumi Sato, medical examiner.
Oh, hey! Sato came back.
Yumi!
Sarah.
All right, they got along really well, right? Was it from the bonus scenes where we got to see Sarah interviewing Sato?
I think so.
Aw. I remember that one now. It was very cute.
Dr. Sato, we're very grateful for your work sorting through the large number of reports related to this case.
I guess we never needed to bring up the fact that the left-hand prints must have implied it was framed, or I don't know. He's clearly right-handed. March 3rd. Occupation medical examiner. Likes brushed metal, grilled fish, cardamom. Dislikes frame interpolation. Yeah, me too. Split ends and surveys.
But just for you.
Oh, no, you.
But just for you.
Aw, thanks.
Splurges on live show tickets. Hell yeah. Favorite color? Phthalocyanine green G. Coat. Very easy to sanitize. True.
Is phthalocyanine green G an actual color?
I don't know, but I bet you're about to find out.
Phthalocyanine green.
Yeah? Yeah?
Phthalocyanine green G.
Is it a cool color?
Phthalocyanine green.
That's turquoise.
Well, that's just the raw pigment powder. I wonder
that's
if it's a different.
Oh, okay. No, you're right. You're
it
right.
might be brighter when it's like in a paint or something.
It looks kind of like evergreenish. You might be wondering.
I pull it up, and the first image I see is this glass thing, which definitely looks like a butt plug.
That's a butt plug.
Despite the fact that it clearly isn't, because it's from a chemistry supply corporation.
That's a butt plug.
But yeah, that's a quite good green. I'm
Pretty
a
good.
green enjoyer. I appreciate that green. Dr. Sato, you have good taste in green.
Now, you might be wondering, SK, you going to put it up on screen for us to see so we can judge it for ourselves? No.
Really? Yeah, 5 bodies, all high priority. Had my head underwater for a good while there. We'd prefer not to tax you with repeating every grisly detail. But if you could, would you please walk the court through the time of death for each victim and the manner in which they were determined? Right. From the top, Ankur Tan, aka Tanks, had a mishmash of street legal and shop mods along his forearms. None of them were particularly up to date, but they were all working and they did monitor his heart rate. Tank's heart stopped at 9:44 p.m. The cause of death was... The slug had a hollow design intended to shatter inside the target. There's no mistaking that he was killed by his own gun, the Magus, from a distance of 1 to 2 meters.
Oh, is it called a Magus? Am I supposed to be calling it a Magus?
I'm calling it the Magus because it sounds cool. That's 100% my reason. I'm consistently calling it the Magus rather than the Mag-US.
Mag-rail slug detonated beside the subject's heart, killing them instantly. Beside the subject's heart! Oh, no.
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah. Time of death at 9:44 p.m. Okay, cool.
It would make sense as well if the killing
Was the heartbreak?
matched the heartbreak's pattern. Like, it feels like if you're gonna pull a wild defense by putting it on someone else, this is the one to, like, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yep.
Next up is Sungmin Trench. He also had relatively low-end mods installed, and they show his heart stopping at 9:45 p.m. He died from exsanguination, blood loss resulting from a laceration across his neck by a sharp metal blade. That wasn't the only injury his body sustained, though, was it? No, it was not. Posthumously, his skull was...
Saw no evil.
Heavens, Miller...
Nope.
Oh.
Severe blood loss following lacerations to the throat and neck. Recovered metadata from the optical mods indicates time of death is 9:45. Skull was smashed in with blunt force posthumously, destroying the majority of systems in their optical mods. Traces of wood splinters found in the skull match the broken bat found near the body. Okay.
Heavens, Miller Smiles received a puncture wound straight through his jugular vein. Then the blade was withdrawn, exacerbating blood loss, and he was likely unconscious within seconds of falling to the ground. Miller had mods, but had evidently gone to great lengths to remove all monitoring tech from them, and he was not found with any electronics on his person. Using purely medical means, I narrowed his time of death down to a window of 10 minutes between 9:40 and 9:50 p.m.
Okay, so we don't know whether or not he was...
I didn't notice the cute little fang.
You didn't notice the fang? He's got a great fang. So we don't know necessarily where in the order his death was.
I love that Miller is the only one whose nickname is like super normal, but then his regular name is Heaven Smiles.
Nyeh.
Single stab wound to the carotid artery, leading to massive blood loss. Loss of consciousness would have occurred momentarily after the blade's withdrawal. Stabbed in the neck with a bladed instrument, 2 to 3 cm thick. Puncture wound is approximately 13 cm deep. Blood on subject's hands suggests they attempted to staunch their bleeding or possibly even remove the weapon. No other injuries. Analysis of subject's mods indicates their self-defense mechanisms were activated shortly prior to death. Combined with the location of the stab wound, subject most likely faced their attacker and attempted to fight back. Okay, so I guess we can use that. We know that Miller died third, but there's some ambiguity, and we can, to our advantage, place Miller's death seemingly anywhere within that window.
Yeah.
Even though I killed him third and he was the second to die.
That brings us to Creek. Yes, like tanks, Lakers Creek Christoph, named after the Seminole basketball team, was shot once with a hollow slug from a distance of 1 to 2 meters. However, the slug penetrated just beneath their solar plexus and failed to completely shatter when it impacted a low-end spinal brace mod. As a result, Creek didn't die immediately. It is my medical opinion that Creek would have slowly bled out over the course of about 5 minutes. Their mod did not have biomonitoring capabilities, so, like with Miller, I've done what I can to narrow down the time of death to a 10-minute window between 9:40 and 9:50 p.m.
So he was barely modded? And he stayed conscious that whole time anyway. God damn. Cause of death. Severe blood loss, hemorrhaging following the detonation of a mag rail slug inside the subject's torso. Close range, 1 to 2 meters, and a modded spinal brace, likely a relatively low-cost, low-tech corrective measure for a childhood injury or growth defect. Spinal brace prevented the slug from shattering completely, slightly prolonging the subject's life in exchange for multiplying damage to internal organs several-fold. Medical records indicate DT3, but no signs of the disease seem to exist at this time. No metformin in the bloodstream, most likely subject recovered due to natural robustness. I wonder how that's going to be important.
Yeah, what was DT3?
I don't know. We haven't learned.
But we do have one other context clue to work with. This datapad was found very close to Creek's body, and technicians confirmed that it requires Creek's fingerprints for most functions.
I'm just going to raw Google DT3 real quick and see if that is...
Not a thing, right?
Yep. I'm getting, chairs. It's a chair.
That means it's unlikely that anyone else would have been able to manipulate it. And we've found that the last action taken on it was an attempted dark card transaction that failed at 9:44 p.m. What could cause a dark card transaction to fail? Either they hit cancel or the card itself was jostled, interrupting the scan. As if the datapad was suddenly dropped.
Speculation.
How much qualification does one need to understand that card readers can be finicky, Your Honor? True enough. Chip, swipe, pin, tap. Just let me buy the damn balloon animal, you clown. So, taking that digital evidence into account...
Would have bled out for about 5 minutes, right? So probably
Creek must have been shot almost at the exact same time as Tanks. Thank you. There's one more body you examined for this case, yes? Officer Tariq Chopin. I didn't need to determine his time of death. As a patrol officer, he had a standard suite of police-issued biomonitors. So we know that Officer Chopin's heart stopped at 10:14:04 p.m.
So fully, like, Half an hour later.
Triggering an automatic 10999 alert. Officer down.
Lighting up that crime scene like a firecracker and ensuring every cop in the city would come running, royally pissed and safety's off.
Chopin was impaled through his back by a long, thin blade. It severed his aorta, and as a result, he died instantly. To summarize, then, we can conclude that Tank's gun was taken from him before 9:44 p.m. He and Creek were then shot with it.
Penetrative cardiac stab wound, posterior death was instantaneous.
Also stabbed in the heart. This is perfect.
Oh, yeah, you're so right. Subject was stabbed, impaled from behind with a large bladed instrument, 2 to 3 centimeters thick. Wound so unusual pattern of aggravation as the blade was jostled within the wound cavity post-mortem. No other injuries of note. I've got a question.
Yes, Chen?
So he was stabbed through, right?
Yep.
Did we ever get an idea of how much blood was on the sword?
I'd presume a fair bit.
I would too. I'm trying to there's one interesting detail that I remember from a related mystery game case where we were able to show that the sword stabbed in the person's back was not the sword used to kill them, because in order to stab someone through, you have to put most of the blade through, but there was only blood at the very end of the blade, so it had been positioned in his body after they'd been killed. So I'm wondering if we got something similar to that here that we could argue, but we don't get any details about where on the blade the blood is, so probably a non-starter.
Their attacker, out of ammunition, took up a sword and stabbed Miller in the throat before slicing into Trey's neck.
What? What? Why into for slicing into Trey's neck? Wait, hold on, I missed here. Oh, right, sorry, I got us off track. We're still talking about, got it, okay. Never mind, I got us off track. Let's get back on. So so Emma's version of events. Tank's gun was taken from him before 9:44 p.m. He and Creek were shot. Their attacker, out of ammunition, took up a sword, stabbed Miller in the throat, and then sliced Trey's neck.
Miller's wound doesn't match the sword, nor does the other signs around the injury if we check the autopsy notes.
For
Miller. Which would make sense because Miller was not stabbed with the sword.
Yeah, Miller was
stabbed with Morg's knife.
Yep. Puncture wound is approximately 13 centimeters deep.
2 to 3 centimeters thick blade. Blood suggesting they attempted to remove it.
Yeah.
So look at Trey's.
Trey was shot.
Oh, look at
Oh.
No, Trey wasn't shot. Scroll up.
Oh, right.
Oh,
right.
it doesn't tell us. It doesn't tell us.
Do we get the dimensions on the sword? We don't. Okay.
I feel like it doesn't line up. We know it doesn't line up, but I feel like it doesn't line up. Anyway, that is all.
Well, no, what we could do, hold on. It was Miller, right? Miller's autopsy. Blood on subject's hands suggests they attempted to staunch their bleeding or possibly even remove the weapon.
Yeah.
So, Miller's blood should be on the sword.
Ooh. And it's not. But it is.
Oh, it is?
It is, because she dragged it through
the
blood.
She dragged it through the... Morgan! Alright.
This individual then proceeded to posthumously crush Trey's skull by striking it so hard that they shattered a baseball bat, as Creek bled to death on the other side of the room. Finally, when Officer Chopin entered the scene, they stabbed him in the back, before finally being apprehended by Officer Rogers. That's all correct as far as we understand it.
So now Rockford's put together a timeline.
It's probably helpful for the jury putting it all in chronological order. But have we actually learned anything new about the culprit's actions?
We have. Emma brought her on the stand to establish the culprits. Starting time.
Yeah.
She wanted to establish the starting time of all the murders.
Wasn't that pretty obvious just from one autopsy? Tanks died first and his mods confirmed it.
Well, yes, but the fact that Tanks and Creek died first combined with where their shooters stood tells us in what part of the room the culprit must have started their killing spree.
Oh, that's what it was supposed to be, where
yeah.
the killer was located. Correct, because Creek and Tanks died first, and they were both shot from within 1 to 2 meters. We know the culprit must have started taking action right by the desk.
And not by the door to the holding room.
Indeed.
So the likelihood that my client broke out from there
Is not very high at all.
Yes.
An abundance of DNA evidence establishes that the defendant was indeed held in the other room, but clearly he didn't remain there. His captors must have taken him out to question him in the main room.
Really? But we found truth serum needles in the other room, implying that he was interrogated in there.
And dragged him in front of the desk where Tank's gun would be within reach.
You're the one who's reaching.
You have evidence to the contrary? A better explanation for how he got out of where he was being held?
Can't exactly propose the real killer set him free as the scapegoat. The forensics are clear. My client was gagged and bound in that room.
Was, but clearly they had to cut him loose to question him. A mistake that ended up costing them their lives.
Do you think that's true, Sosuke?
I'm not positive, of course.
No, because they tried to truth serum him.
But my body is telling me that I was held in that room from the time I woke up until I got myself free.
Emma's theory about the Blue Bloods being dumb enough to let Sosuke near a gun isn't perfect. But it's still a theory. I don't have jack shit to counter with because not even Sosuke knows how I let him out.
If the defense has no objections, then they'll just have to take this L and meekly move on to their cross-examination.
Adonai, that made you sound very feeble.
You've developed a habit of only using we when I'm winning. Fix it.
That made us sound very feeble?
Why do I have to get roped in?
Emma's already established a timeline and order of events. I could pick at the details, but she's close enough to the truth already. I know the truth firsthand about every death except Chopin. In his case, Emma and I are on even footing. So what's my advantage? What do I know that everyone else is mistaken about?
Murder weapons. Because Miller wasn't killed with the sword.
Yep. Right, the murder weapons. Everyone thinks Miller was stabbed in the neck by the katana. The only one who knows my knife was there. There's gotta be a way I can use that information to my advantage here without revealing that I have it, or how I got it. Walking a razor's edge here. At least it's thematically appropriate. The defense is ready to begin our cross-examination, Your Honor. Well, we can also prove that, like, they had to cut him free with something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Sato, you were asked to examine all 5 bodies. Did you visit the crime scene?
I did not, have not.
Okay.
Photos and other ARCs data were provided to me to aid in my examination. Surely the defense isn't objecting to a little virtual work.
Of course not. After all, had anything been added or removed from the crime scenes, the ARCs would show it. There's no fooling it once it's been set up. Okay.
I didn't realize she had arm warmers.
Oh, yeah.
At least on the arm that needs it.
At least on the arm that's so good. Let's learn about the gunshot wounds. 2 individuals suffered gunshot wounds. You found that both matched the Magus firearm that's been entered into evidence?
I did. Shrapnel is by nature unpredictable, but the scale of destruction does make it pretty hard to mistake for anything else.
Didn't exactly learn anything new there. Okay. No.
That would be ridiculous. Although it would be funny if true.
Yep. Blade wounds. Victims Trey and Miller were both attacked with a blade. Exactly how fast did they die?
Trey had his throat slashed and blood found on his hands suggests that he had time to reach up to his neck in response. But he would have quickly stumbled back and collapsed onto the floor dead.
Wait, I know our angle. Miller, from the autopsy, seemed to claw at the blade at his neck.
Mm-hmm.
Right. In the... oh, no, but no, Trey died first anyway. So, oh, wait. Let's keep going.
Miller wouldn't have lost much blood at the moment his neck was punctured. For that kind of wound, the weapon acts as a stopper. But once that stopper was removed, he would have lost consciousness in mere seconds.
And while the blade was still in his neck?
If it was there for more than a second, he too would have reflexively reached up, presumably to try and grab the blade. We should press, I think.
His blood is on the blade, though.
It's on the tip. I think we should press.
I
think we should press.
Is there any evidence that he tried to grab the razor-sharp katana lodged into his neck?
He had his own blood on his right hand, but there were no cuts on it.
Because he grabbed the knife's handle, not a sword's edge.
So it stands to reason that the blade was withdrawn very quickly. By the time his hands reached up to his neck, it must have been gone.
One of many and small inconsistencies with this katana theory I can shine a light on. Will that be enough?
Cause of death.
Could you speak a bit more about the manner of Officer Chopin's death?
Well, to reiterate, his body was found with the katana stuck through his back. It had punctured his heart, killing him. There was massive blood loss at the scene. At least in part because the wound in question was agitated, I suppose I'd say.
This seems fair.
Yeah.
What do you mean by agitated?
Honestly, as though after impalement, the blade was moved around inside the wound, as if it had become stuck and someone was struggling to remove it.
London mentioned that Sato had found this wound odd, but to hear her say specifically the blade had become stuck, that is interesting. Alright. Stabbing Miller's neck so precisely and fast, that would have been quite the feat of swordsmanship.
Stating a conclusion, Your Honor.
Comments withdrawn. Quick as a blade. Quick as a blade.
Huh?
Have you ever seen a stab wound like the one that killed Miller, inflicted by a long blade, and wielded in one hand by a man experiencing heavy blood loss?
No, I can't say that I have. Now, whether that maneuver is impressive or improbable, well, I'm a doctor, not a fencer.
And Sosuke doesn't own a rapier.
Let's press.
Did you find the stab wound on Miller's neck fit the sword that the police recovered?
Approximately.
That doesn't sound conclusive.
The entry wound is slightly smaller than I would expect for such a precise stab.
Oh, we did good on this one.
Called it. The sword hand must have barely trembled, but it's within tolerable ranges. Furthermore, DNA on the tip of the sword is a match for Miller.
Damn it, just because I happened to drag it across where his blood had dripped.
And of course, there isn't any other implement at the scene that fits the wound better.
No, of course there isn't. Thank you, Dr. Sato. I think I can speak for all of us when I say that I found that very enlightening.
Nice.
Man, this game is stylish. Dr. Sato, you just testified that Officer Chopin was impaled from behind. Did this occur on the spot where his body was found?
Yes, it did. The body shows no signs of being moved.
I'm curious then. What was there for the sword to get stuck on?
Well, if Chopin was in the center of the room, standing upright, I mean, it wouldn't have gotten caught on the air, right? Bone, perhaps?
Surely examined the wound inside and out. Did you see marks on his ribcage where the blade had caught?
No, I didn't.
Then it stands to reason the blade didn't get caught on anything inside Mr. Chopin.
It got caught on the floor.
Pardon?
You need to take greater advantage of the arcs, Counselor Morgan. Learn to flip things on their head. Entire rooms if need be. If you had, you'd see there's a clear indentation in the floor that lines up perfectly with Mr. Chopin's wound.
So he was stabbed after he?
Yeah, he laid down on the floor as police officers do, and then someone ambushed him and stabbed him in the back.
Or you're saying Sosuke stabbed him in the back and let go of his sword?
How did you think the tip of the sword got chipped?
You're saying the sword got stuck in the floor.
That's what the facts are saying. Do you disagree? Sword sure could have gotten stuck in the floor.
I don't necessarily disagree, no. If Chopin was impaled, then fell face first.
It makes perfect sense for the sword to get caught in the floor as he collapsed on top of it. So, we can conclude that after being impaled, Chopin fell over with the sword still in his torso, driving the sword into the ground. Then his attacker aggravated the wound by trying to retrieve the sword from his corpse. Does that sound right?
So he left.
What? Are you asking me? Sort of, asking the room, I guess.
Well, I believe I can answer. What you're describing makes sense, Dr. Sato, but only if up until we consider again the fingerprints on the sword handle. If my client really did impale Tariq Chopin and get his sword stuck doing so, why would he try to retrieve it with only one hand?
Because he had to retrieve it with only one hand. You yourself already elucidated that the defendant's left hand was broken when he destroyed the elevator panel in Crane Tower.
His left hand was too damaged for him to even grip a sword, you say? That doesn't square up with this piece of evidence. The gun, right?
Yep.
Oh, we're going max on this because I'm certain about it. The
magus?
How could my client's left hand be too damaged to grip his sword? And yet also capable of gripping the magus?
Phrasing. That oddity is hardly impossible to explain. We've already determined that the magus was fired twice before the sword was used at all. Firing such a weapon with a broken hand surely rendered his left useless.
That's...
It is difficult to wield a sword with a damaged hand, isn't it, Sosuke?
Historically, even the loss of a pinky on your non-dominant hand was considered enough to render you relatively defenseless.
Is that why yakuza would offer to cut off fingers as recompense for offenses?
That's right, Sarah. In fact...
Cut the chatter and save the history lesson. He had to pull the sword loose with one hand because his left was useless. Looking at all the forensics pulled from the katana, that is... Your Honor, the people claim that my client had to use one hand to retrieve the sword because his other hand was disabled. But does the evidence actually suggest that?
What do you mean?
Forensics performed on the katana found my client's right hand fingerprints on the handle. But what grip are the prints a match for?
Let me just give it a quick think here as I meticulously analyze the position of each finger. A normal grip. The grip is normal. Do you mean to say that the thumb is facing toward the blade, Your Honor? Well, yeah, but isn't it easier to just say he held it like normal?
So it was stuck in the ground and he reached out with his grip upside down to sword in the stone it rather than just try to like...
Yeah, that'd be weird. That'd be real weird.
My client only had the sword with his right hand normally, Your Honor. That means he held the handle like it was even. Held it handle like that even as he tried to jostle the blade free from the floor it was impaled in.
Which is far from impossible. But if, Your Honor, the court has questions about exactly how the defendant was positioned when he was found standing over Officer Chopin's corpse, I believe the people's next witness will be able to answer all of them.
Uh-oh. That can only mean it's finally time to face off with the arresting officer.
Chopin's partner. Very well, then let us summon to the stand. No, name not found.
What?
What?
Is that a family or a given name?
What? Yeah, got one big ol' error right here, and it's a classic. Witness not found. Literally, he ain't here. What?
What?
He's had hours to get here. What the hell could possibly be...
Her star witness is a no-show?
Is this good news or bad news?
It's like hitting the jackpot on the world's sketchiest slot machine. Feels good, but you get the feeling that the staff is going to make you pay for it.
That idiotic...
Pay for it when?
Fine, I'll finish it myself.
Right about now. The Funk Soul Brother.
Perhaps it's for the best then, Your Honor. We can save the court the trouble by wrapping up things here and now. The facts are simple, and the defense has failed to refute them. Thus, the people call for summary judgment.
Already?
The defendant is the only one with his prints on the gun. He is the only one with his prints on the katana. His own employer testified to the court that he was attacked and captured by 4 of the 5 victims. He was found and arrested standing over the body of a dead cop before 2 more officers arrived and secured the scene.
That must be Reyes in London she's referring to.
As the only living person left at the scene of the crime, there was no one else who could have committed these murders.
Not true. We know of an escape route. She's on a tear, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't entertaining. But it's only because she's on tilt. She was thrown off by her witness flaking, and it caused her to overstep. She just fired off a lot of claims in quick succession. Which is the weakest one?
I love the action music in this section.
Yeah!
Very Umineko coded.
Yeah, this is super Umineko coded, actually. Holy shit. All right, so which is the one? The only living person left at the scene of crime. There wasn't anyone else. This, I think, is our most suspect thing, right? Let's look at her claims one by
Here's
one.
something. There's one other living person at the scene of the crime, the arresting officer.
Yeah.
Is that going to be it?
The defendant's the only one with his prints on the gun. Can't argue that. He's the only one with his prints on the katana. Can't argue that. His employer testified to the court he was attacked and captured by 4 of the 5 victims. Yes. Found arrested standing over the body of a dead cop. Sure. 2 other officers arrived to secure the scene. Only living person left at the scene of the crime. There was no one else who could have committed these murders.
Only suspect.
She just claimed the Sosuke is the only one who could have committed these murders. She can't possibly prove that. She can't prove there wasn't anyone else there that night because I actually was. I don't like her. I can prove the possibility of another party being present without having to reveal their identity. The people are mistaken, Your Honor. My client wasn't the only other person there that night. And there's evidence to show it.
The dark card.
Yep. We're doing a...
Dark card.
Just let me... Hard to copy the...
What is that? The dark card found lodged into Creek's datapad?
That's right. The perfect payment option when neither you nor the businesses you frequent like attaching names to faces. We've already discussed that within moments of Creek's death, a transaction was being attempted on his datapad. A transaction made using this dark card. But whatever for? Perhaps some of the handful of illicit substances that were found at the scene of the crime.
Oh crap. Yeah, almost forgot. These guys were drug dealers.
And drug dealers get customers, Your Honor. Customers that can be very temperamental when things go south.
Are you trying to suggest that these killings were the result of a drug deal gone wrong?
You think they left their dark card behind because they didn't want it anymore? I mean, they sort of were.
A drug deal made in person at a blue blood stronghold.
Dark cards require a passkey and a fingerprint. The card would be useless if its owner wasn't physically present for the transaction. A transaction that might be abruptly canceled if tensions boiled over.
A potential buyer would have likely been across the desk from Creek.
The same spot in the room that we've established that killer must have started their rampage.
Cute idea, counselor, but there's no meat to it. We know that Creek was using that datapad before he died, and we know that the dark card was processing a transaction at the time.
On behalf of whom?
But for some reason, you've made the assumption that he was selling, when the simplest explanation is that he was buying, using the dark card that he owned.
The dark card that belonged to Creek.
How will you respond?
I don't need to respond with evidence. I just need to point out the flawed evidence she's constructed her argument upon.
Who was he buying from then? Himself? Wiped of all prints. Why would it be wiped? Oh, I can't tell if it's which of the first two it is.
Yeah.
Because this is weird. It's weird that he'd be doing a transaction on his own data.
This also has Chopin's fingerprints on it.
It does. That's funny. Can we look at what it says for the dark card as well?
Found stuck in datapad, wiped of all prints. Known only to rich and criminals. Why would he need to wipe his own dark card of prints?
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be weird. That'd be weird. That'd be weird. It should have his prints for trying to do the transaction.
Characterization, Your Honor. People are claiming the dark card and the evidence belong to the victim, Creek. Despite the fact that it has no fingerprints on it either.
What?
We just got an achievement called Reading the Card Explains the Card. Oh, wait, hold on. Ooh! Ooh! Ooh, the soundtrack's a bop. If that dark card had belonged to Creek, he would have had to insert it into his data pad with his teeth.
Yuck. So who did the dark card belong to?
Perhaps a customer who didn't like his prices.
Gruntled customer could have wiped the prints off the card to hide the fact they were ever there.
That's absurd. If a customer brought that dark card with them to the crime scene, why the hell wouldn't they take it with them when they left?
It was stuck in the data pad.
They could have pulled a little harder. They could have taken the data pad with them. Who would leave behind something that valuable?
The card is worthless to everyone but its owner.
To whom it could be priceless. Why would they choose to leave it behind?
The answer to that is simple, if I'm honest. We're discussing the possibility of a deal gone south. What could cause that in the first place?
Aggressive negotiating tactics.
Or a customer who couldn't pay.
What are you... This customer could afford a dark card.
And yet they couldn't pay.
Hold on. You're trying to say all these deaths, all this carnage, you think it's all because their card got declined?
Hard to live down that kind of faux pas.
Murdering 4 or 5 people in order to skip paying your bill is pretty aggressive. But if you need your fix... Was there any indication that contraband was taken from the scene of the crime? Your Honor, that is difficult to say. Without knowing their inventory before the crime occurred, we cannot rule out the possibility.
That was a little lackluster of a pushback. Is she really that thrown off by this witness playing hooky?
Well, I hate to do this because I love spending time with you all and having a physical body and being ensouled. But it does seem like I have to declare a recess while we wait.
Perfectly reasonable, Your Honor.
I call dibs on the swing set.
Oh, you had the swing set last time.
That's the most romantic thing I've ever heard.
What?
Court is now in recess.
Yay. Well, honestly,
Not bad, not bad.
For flying by the seat of our pants Phoenix Wright style, we actually got some, we actually did pretty well there. Oh, man. Still not done because we're only in recess right now, so presumably when her witness gets here. But we did get to catch Emma overstepping.
Yeah.
Which is unusual for her, right?
She was trying to wrap
She's
it up quick,
overconfident.
and she was overconfident.
Which is not normal for her. I wonder if losing that or getting caught up in the heartbreak thing is starting to make her lose a little bit of her ironclad professionalism on some of the rest of her work.
Maybe.
I wonder if that's going to be a thing with her going forward.
What I'd been wondering, and I don't think this is the direction it's going, I'd been wondering if this was like a deliberate ploy, leaving weaknesses to make it so that the defense is like, yeah, it's the heartbreak killer. And Emma's like, see, I told everybody it's the heartbreak killer.
You think she wants it to be the heartbreak killer? Oh, no!
But I don't think that's the direction it's actually going. But if it is, that'd be so sick.
Weirdly enough, I don't think we know enough about Emma to know if she would do that or not. From what we heard from her monologue in the first episode, it seems like justice is difficult, so it behooves us to use everything we have to go after it, because holding anything back won't make a difference, right? But I don't know if that would mean that she'd want to find a way to slip her own personal. I don't know if that's something she would do or not. Ooh. Well, we'll have to find out more next time.
Peace.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.